champions of this realm can do nothing to stop us.
You are very menacing. I just want you to know that.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering the Shazam sequel. Yes, really, we're covering the sequel.
This movie shows Billy Batson trying his best to be a leader to his siblings and teammates, the Shazam family, while also needing to save the world from three powerful women, intent on finding an artifact that will help them in destroying everything.
Before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click notification bell updates on future podcasts and Wanna Pause videos.
Absolutely. And unlike what we heard on the internet, what we heard on social media, we actually liked Shazam 2.
Yeah, didn't expect to really, because usually they do these sequels, they end up not being as good as the first one.
But the first one's the best.
Right.
But this one was not bad.
Right.
And
it had its moments of like, could have done without that, but there really wasn't anything that would be like this movie sucks or anything.
And then a teased and realized cameo appearance by another superhero.
Yes.
So yes, we actually like this movie.
And for here, it did start off a bit rocky, because they show the Shazam family in action, and it seemed like they didn't really need Billy to lead them really anything. They kind of got the hang of their superpowers in just a year, so it kind of did look like maybe they can't lead them because they're already doing their own thing. And it seemed a bit unfair that he had to learn all this on his own with his friend. And here it's like they just get it not long after him, and they're getting it on the fly, and they're celebrities, they're all partying and doing stuff they couldn't get away with as kids and stuff, and it's kind of like, that's not a tone you expect to have, but it didn't last long.
I think one reason it happened because we've been reading on the 1940s characters in a book called The Supergirls, and we learned in this book that the Shazam family, as well as Mary Marvel, are canon. And in that original version, Mary Marvel is his twin. So they had these powers as in the movie. And I think what the writers probably were doing was just throwing it all in because it's canon. Not thinking how it looks. Yeah, it took him a while, but now they're just instant. They just wanted to get it in like, hey, they're a family.
Yeah.
They're a superhero family. Instead of building up and showing some growth, which would have been a great thing to add to this movie, and which definitely would have made it better.
Right. And then as it goes along, you're kind of going back and forth between the women who are looking for the artifact and then Billy trying to lead the Shazam family. And I guess in a way it's supposed to prove his leadership and how true of a hero he really is when it comes to like towards the end of the movie to the final battle. Because there are actually some more humorous and more bonding type scenes. It's just a few of them are kind of far in between because they're trying to give each kid some time to have in screen. And I think they really didn't have them as kids that much in this movie. They kind of stayed in their adult forms almost the entire film. They were in Shazam family mode nearly the entire time. They weren't kids really much up until it got to near the climax of the film and before the final battle. So it felt a little odd. Maybe they didn't want to use the kids that much, or they had other things, so they tried to make it work just the adults. But it still worked out anyway.
Definitely. So we had the stars, both the adult and the children, I guess you could say teens, returning. Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, Adam Brody, Ian Chin, Ross Butler, DJ Catrona, Megan Good, and the others, and the rest.
Right.
And then, of course, we had playing the Daughters of Atlas. You had Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, and Rachel Zegler. And Jaimin Hansu returned as the mentor. Wizard mentor role. And this movie was considered a box office bomb. It made a little more than what it took to make the movie, $125 million budget, $133 at the box office. And I'm surprised it's considered a bomb because that used to be called breaking even. But now it looks like, you're not making double and triple the amount, you're bombing. But technically this movie was not a failure. It made more than it took to make the movie. So they basically broke even.
Right.
So it's interesting that now, especially post COVID-19, that movies that break even are considered failures. That's an interesting take. Technically, this movie is not a failure.
Right.
It made back the money plus more that budgeted it, and also you had the returning cast. You know, the ones who, again, the adults and the children. You have some superstars who appear, like Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. This movie really isn't a failure. No, it's not as fantastic as the first one, that's true. But this movie isn't bad. It's actually pretty good. It's not great, it's not fantastic like the first one, but it's not a bomb, and it's not a bad movie. And it's too bad that it got a lot of flack and bad press, and I think that's what really helped to contribute to it failing at the box office, because so many critics were giving it crap.
Right, and a lot of people do listen to critics regardless of who they're from, and let that determine if they actually want to go and spend money to see the movie. And for this one, it still is trying to keep that comedy family vibe, but you can tell it had a little less of the family vibe, not in terms of it not of a cohesive family values or anything. It's just that, you know, they were older. By the time they actually did this movie, they were a little older, in their older teens, so they acted a bit different. They all want to do their own things. One of them had a problem coming out. One wanted to go party. One was partying because they could go in as their adult form and go out and do whatever and be legal. So yeah, they kind of were just taking a little advantage of their new powers, but as you said, they end up trying to have some growth towards the end of the movie, that the powers weren't the be-all, end-all, and the answer to everything, and Billy still was doing his best to lead them and try to teach them right from wrong using the powers. And oh, sorry, was there something else? Okay, go ahead, and then I'll go.
Oh, I was just saying, but I'll go ahead. They had a few very fun cameos. One is, most people knew on Twitter, being Michael Gray, who portrayed Billy Batson in the 70s TV series. And he is the man on the street. What was disappointing is he didn't have a longer cameo. Maybe he could have had a few lines appearing like a mentor instead of just a random person on the street.
Right.
I thought that was a missed opportunity. We had Wolf Blitzer as a newscaster.
Yeah.
And then you had a tease where at first Billy was talking to, not Billy, Shazam was talking to Wonder Woman, but it was someone who was pretending to be her. It was like, oh, Wonder Woman's not going to appear in this movie. And then she ends up, Gal Gadot actually appearing in the movie.
Yeah.
Toward the end, so it was fantastic. The cameos were fun. So again, this movie is not bad. It is not dull. If you haven't seen it, and if you have access to see it free, you really should give it a watch.
And that's actually another funny running gag, is that Billy wants to date Wonder Woman, so he's constantly trying to pick her up whenever he can, writing her letters, dreams about her, and say, hey, you know, in this one I'm 20 something, so you know, if you want, like, no, Billy, you can't do that yet.
That was funny. It really was. It wasn't tasteless. It was funny. He'd have these vivid dreams and didn't know he was dreaming. And yeah, it was funny when he met her. It was one of the funniest scenes in the movie. He actually got to meet her.
Yeah.
And he really was thinking in his little teenage mind, in the adult body, that he was going to get a date with her. That was hilarious.
You're right. And then on top of that, you also have one joke that ended up being funny for a lot of people was Jacqueline Grazer's character was actually interested in one of the new girls at school, and it gets to a point where you think it's going to be like a confession scene, and he kind of does so confess, like he's a superhero, and it doesn't work out. But when he transforms, it's like, oh no, I can do a lot of things out of this form. I can take you out to here, I can travel around the world, I can take you to Comic-Con. And she said, what's Comic-Con? And it's like dead silence from everyone watching, like, that's a warning sign. If someone you're dating doesn't know what the hell Comic-Con is, dump them.
Oh my gosh, yeah. funny scenes. They had quite a few in here. And that was a good thing that they had transplanted from the first Shazam into this one. It was good to see these type of scenes because you still had that likeness and fun in it. But they also had some really great action scenes. Really great action. Fight scenes were really good. And the digital effects, the special effects were fantastic.
Right. Definitely. And it looks like they didn't really go cheap in any route. If you had to point out something, is maybe the dragon didn't look all that great. The monsters look fine. They look very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
They even had a sort of twist on the unicorns. They look like just dark horses from hell. But it's like, yeah, they did it at least. The dragon probably looked the least convincing out of everything in there. But that was really, yeah, they did a good job on everything else.
Yeah. And I think another thing that would have worked, since they were already making Black Adam, I mean, they should have gone ahead and used that as an opportunity to have him appear somewhere here in a cameo. Not where they had interaction, but like you saw him somewhere in here, or there had been a sighting and then there was, you know, a news story or something to tie in with Shazam 2.
Right.
I think that was also another missed opportunity that also would have created some buzz for this movie as well as for Black Adam. It was cross-promotion that was missed.
Right.
But all in all, again, this is a pretty good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. But if you have seen Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you haven't, again, give it a watch if you can get access to it for free, or if you can find it for cheap. I say go ahead, invest in it, and watch it. It's not a bad movie. Don't listen to the critics. It is worth seeing. Don't expect it to be what the first one was, but for being a sequel, it's not bad.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates on weekly videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
I'm Mom Entertainment. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you so much. And if you want to check out your channel, be sure to leave us a link or let us know in the comments below.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.